You guys know it is the single life. We are back for another week of the single life. And I am so excited for today's topic. Of course, we're going to extend or continue from the subject matter of submission. I know that's kind of been a hot topic across the board. And in previous weeks, we have had a female panel discuss the topic of submission. So I'm happy today to get some males on the panel today to be able to talk about submission from the male's perspective. So we can kind of give you, of course, what it looks like on this side of the line. I know we heard from women some weeks ago, and they gave us the ins and outs of submission and how they see it and how they view it and everything like that. But I think it's important for us to understand that both sides have to be heard, and in order for a relationship to work, there must be some type of balance between the left side and the right side. They come together and there's a balance, and they're able to move in tandem, right? So here we are today. We're going to jump right into it because I want all of the time today. And I am here waiting for you guys to, we're here for whatever questions. I will make sure I'm monitoring the chat as my guest and I talk. One of my guests got pulled into a last minute meeting. He's my frat brother. He got pulled into a last minute meeting. So hopefully he'll be able to jump on before we wrap this up. But if not, that's cool. Me and my other guest, Brian Robinson, who I have probably known Brian for 15 plus years, I think, something like that, right?
15 to 20 years, man.
Right. So it's been a minute. So Brian and I have a great background, and I know kind of Brian. I trust his opinion. I trust his words. I think he'll have a lot to offer on the platform. So without further ado, man, let's get into it, Brian. So listen, we've been talking about this topic of submission, right? So every guest I've had on, I ask the same question. What does submission mean to you? Just in a relationship, what does the word submission mean to you?
So it's funny you said that, George. Once you told me that word, I first had to find a definition of submission to match it up with what my thoughts were.
Right.
Because submission is such a powerful word that if you don't know the true definition, you can misjuggle it. So real quick, I'm going to read you the definition of what I read. It's literally to voluntarily take a position where you put your trust in someone else and heed their leadership.
Right.
So that's where I for me, I feel like as men, we have to sort of earn it to a certain extent to show through our own actions that you are safe to trust our lead. So when I hear submission, is to say, hey, I've earned the right for you to follow my lead, and you trust that decision I make, not just for me, but for us moving forward. So that's my definition of submission. Earning that right.
So, all right. So let me ask you this, because this is, we kind of talked about this a little bit off camera, right? But I'll bring it down in front of the people. So in the previous week, we talked about submission, and one of the comments that was made was that submission should not happen in dating, but it should only happen in marriage. Like the woman should not submit to the man. They should not submit to each other in dating, but only in marriage. What's your thought process on that?
I have to disagree. I think you should start in the process. Prime example, ladies, you want a man to start showing his effort in the relationship before you get to the marriage. You want to show that he can provide. He trusts you. You have respect, communication. You have to show that to get to that end result, which is marriage. So I don't agree. I think a woman should show, she doesn't have to be fully, but she can show, hey, I can follow your lead. But in the same time, we're not just putting it on the woman, we're putting it on the man to show he deserves for that woman to submit and follow his lead. So it's a partnership between both of them. It's not a 50-50, it's 100%, 100%.
Right. And see, I like that you said that, because that's really the message I've been pushing the last couple of weeks. Like, I think a lot of people hear the word submission and they automatically go into this old school mentality of the woman has to submit to the man. That's it. There's nothing else. Don't worry about anything else. But submission is actually a partnership. You have to submit on both sides. And I'll give you a prime example. In a relationship, there are things that you, as Brian Robinson, the man, are going to do phenomenal. You do those well, right? And then there's some other things that you're going to do not so well, but that your partner probably is amazing at, right?
Yep.
And so now there also has to be some submission on your side as the man who is the lead, quote unquote, the lead, as they say, right? But you have to submit and say, you know what? Let me not keep leading us in the wrong direction. I'm not good at this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just budgeting, right? Somebody is always going to be somebody's going to be good at budgeting, and somebody may not be the best at budgeting, right? Or somebody may think that they're good at budgeting, but then they realize they're not really good at budgeting, right? So there has to be some level of submission where you say, "Hey, listen, babe, I'm great at A, B, C, D, and E, right? But F and G, I'm not that good at. So I will submit the leadership of these things to you, and you make sure, let me know what I need to do. I don't want to just dump it on you and I'm out the way, but there's still some level of partnership I got to submit to you too."
I think you're correct. I mean, for me, my parents were married for 43 years and they had a partnership. My dad worked very hard and my mom did, but he gave the finances to her so she could delegate it in different accounts. So there's a partnership and there's a trust issue. I think when it comes to the word submission, George, you have to look at the individual's background too,
Okay.
male and woman. If a woman has come from a toxic relationship, then she's going to be a little bit more defensive on letting someone else lead or submission. They've had to do it themselves. That's a strong word. So it's not just the definition they need to know. They also have to look at their background, how they were raised, and so forth, because that plays a huge part. And if they're willing to submit to someone or someone else again. So I mean, it's one of those catch 22s for me. I understand the word a little bit better now. Thank you, George, just because I did some research. But also understand, like you said, I think sometimes women think it's just the woman that has to submit. You're absolutely correct.
Right.
We as men also have to submit in certain areas. We have to let our pride go because we've been taught we have to be the lead. We have to control everything. When in actuality, it's a partnership between you and that woman for us and for them, the man.
All right. So we got a question that popped up and it says, "Why should singles talk about submission in finances?" You want me to
Why
answer,
should
or you want to answer it first?
you can start it?
All right, so here's why I think it's important because let's let's talk about dating for a second. Let's go back to like the basic form, right? My dad always taught me. He said, "Son, y'all do dating so wrong now." And I was like, "Well, Dad, what do you mean?" This was years ago. He said, "Y'all date to see if y'all like each other." He said, "And that's backwards." He said, "Because you know if you like somebody without even having a conversation with them, you know if you like them or not." He said, "So you're dating to see if you can make it to the next level with them, to see if they're compatible in the good days and in the bad days. You're dating to try to get to that next level, which is engagement, which leads to marriage,
Yeah.
right?" All right. So, and the reason why we need to talk about finances in dating is because I need to know what I'm getting myself into. Just like you need to know what you're getting yourself into. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you wouldn't want to go to a car dealership and be like, "Hey, I'm going to just buy this car. I don't need a Carfax. Y'all don't worry about telling me if it's been an accident. I don't need to know any of the background. I'll just figure that out while I'm driving down the road." Like, no, I need to know that before I get in so I can now make an informed decision on if this is the direction that I want to move in.
What I did was I stripped the whole dating world down. Back in the day, I'd take them on a 5 star. No, I stripped it down. Give me a coffee date. Give me something where your personality and your character shines the most. The looks are going to catch my attention. The personality and character is going to keep my attention. So I need to know your background. How do you feel about finances? How do you feel about money spent? Who do you think should be spending the bills? Is there a joint account? Do you have your own account? We're not putting you in an interview, but we do want to know that just like you're investing your time, we're also investing our time into you.
Exactly.
It's a partnership. I'm going to make sure you get the raw version of me. You may not like everything, but I also want to see the person behind the beauty. The beauty. I want to know if we take this to the next level. As far as finances, we are at least we have good synergy at least.
Right. So now we kind of know financially. You have to think about it. For instance, like I was blessed. My parents put me through school, so I didn't come into the game with student loans, right? But like, there's a high probability that I will marry someone with student loans, right?
Yeah,
So immediately, I will go from not having student loans to now
to
I have student loans, right?
exactly.
And so, hey, baby, how much school did you do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
what's the tab on this?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then not only are we talking about what the tab is, but what's the plan for us to alleviate this thing right here? Because I don't want to die with these student loans over my head. And I know my thought may be different than some other people, but I don't
Yeah.
want to die with your student loans, which are now our student loans on my head. Like, let's have this conversation so we can know if you are $10,000 in debt somewhere else. Like, I need to know all of this, just like you would need to know it from my perspective, so that it's not, oh, we both said I do, And now, hey, sweetheart, here's
Yeah,
what I do looks like, right?
exactly. And for me, I'm debt free. I'm not trying. Praise
It's a
God.
beautiful
It took me
thing. That's
some
a
years.
blessing for sure.
It is to put it. So when I'm asking questions, I'm not asking your favorite color. What was your favorite movie? That's nice, but I'm asking questions that really have some meaning behind it. Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? What happened in your last relationship? What do you think about finances? They may think it's an interview, but at the same time, you better ask these questions because once you say "I do," you're inheriting everything that they had. And a lot of people be like, "Did you not ask?" And you're like, "But." So again, you better ask before it's too late. That's
Right.
how I look at it. What's the worst asking that question?
So, all right, so let's look at this, right? So, I had a friend off camera, I think, which had a question about it too, but they said, are we as men, right? As men, or even if you want to look at it from both sides, are you giving your partner something to submit to, right? Are you giving your partner something to submit to? And I think that's a solid question. And you have to really analyze where you are. Would I submit to me? Right? Like I can remember my dad teaching a message one Sunday, and he said, "Man, he said the problem with a lot of people is we give our ear to too many people." He said,
Mm-hmm.
"You're over here building a house, and you're trying to ask advice from someone who hasn't even built a doghouse on how to build a house. We don't have anything to talk about on this side of the line." You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So when it comes to the whole submission topic, part of that is me analyzing myself to say, okay, well, what does my resume look like? You go into an interview, you have to bring a resume that talks about your history. You know what I mean? So I've got to analyze me and say, well, would I submit to me? Right? Have I put enough on paper? Have I done enough things to where somebody who is intelligent and intellectual would look at me and say, okay, I don't mind submitting to you and you leading us in the right direction. Also trusting that I've also shown them I'm submitted to God before anything else. So you can trust my relationship with God. You can trust how I'm moving spiritually to know that that's the first tier that's already been crossed. You can
Yep.
check that box off. Boom, we've got that squared away. Am I consistently showing you that though?
That's. I think it comes down to what you said. At the end of the day, as men, what I had to do, I can only use myself because it's me. I stepped away and I worked on the things that could make me a better person, a better man, a better brother, a better son, a better Christian. There's a season for everything. And for a
Right?
little bit of time, I didn't have a season for dating because, like you said, who's going to submit to me when I'm not even doing things that make me an adult and a man? So I
Right?
stepped back. So in other words, same thing applies to some women. You're looking for a good man, and I applaud you for that. But are you taking the man does come around, you have everything in order mentally, physically, financially, and spiritually. So again, we all have to look at ourselves. We all have to take time, slow it down, improve ourselves. So when that person does come, you're ready for them. That question you asked, George, I'm going to show them through my actions. I'm going to show them that you can submit to me and you feel comfortable submitting me through my
Right?
actions. Being
Right?
attentive just what you need, but mentally being attentive to what you're saying to me. I'm not listening to respond, I'm listening to understand. So again,
Exactly.
I'm going to earn that right through my actions on a daily basis as you see me throughout this process of dating.
Right. So then let me ask you this though, because you just brought up a valid point when you talked about the step back, right? Because I think it's critical. At sometimes you have to step back and just say, hey, listen, and I think that's a vital flaw that a lot of us make in dating is that we come from one situation, you know what I mean, with a lot of baggage, it's like you're catching a connecting flight almost. We treat relationships like connecting flights. Like, all right, I just got off this flight and it didn't go good. It was rocky and it was turbulent, but I'm not gonna take the time to drop my bags. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not gonna take the time to readjust. I'm just gonna go right into this connecting flight of another relationship because this person seems like a good candidate, but I'm not a good candidate right now. Right? I'm not a
Emotional
good candidate.
baggage.
I just came
Emotional.
from a world of hurt. And now I'm
Yep.
about to, and we've all been in those situations before, right? Where it's like you're dating someone and at a certain level, you're kind of like dating potential, right? Like you're dating who you know they can be, and it's like I got to get
Yep.
you through this phase right now. Like I know what you came from, so I want to applaud you for that because that step back is so necessary to like analyze, like okay, where am I? Because
Well, we
before
get
I can
we.
ever ask somebody to submit to me, I gotta look at me and make sure I'm lined up and I got
Yep.
my ducks in a row. So not just financially, right? But character wise, where am I? You know what I mean? Even when it comes to my house, because when you start talking about dating and sharing a space, whether I'm inviting you over to my house or we travel or whatever, like I gotta be in a space where I'm okay with somebody being, and
Yes.
we mesh right there. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Because I watch everything. If we're going to dinner, I'm watching how you move in a public place because that's going to tell me how you are privately. You know what I mean? Like, so all those things start to line up when you start talking about submission, and they have their own merit, I guess. So I want to applaud you for that step back. But let me ask you this though, right? So in that step back where you said, okay, well, let me analyze me, right, and let me work on me in this phase. What do you tell females that approach you, Brian? I know, no Diddy, but you're a good looking guy. You got things going for yourself or whatever. So, I know that women will try to approach you in that phase. What is your commentary to them in that phase of no, I'm working on me?
I'm honest. I said, listen, I'm not in a position to seriously date. Now we can hang out, we can go movies, grab something to eat, but I want to be upfront with you because I'm trying to better myself.
Right.
I, it took me forever. I'm
Yeah.
42. I own my age. It took me forever to get there. You know me, George. I was running around like crazy, but you have to take the step back because in today's world, everything is so fast.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
think 24 hours, you sleep, you work, all of a sudden the day is over. So
For
you
sure.
have to prioritize first and foremost your mental health and yourself. And that's
Right.
what I did. I had a heart to heart with myself, and that's a big pill to swallow. I was blaming all these other women, and I looked at myself in the mirror and realized I'm not where I need to be. And I
Right.
reversed it. If I had a good woman come my way right now, which I have one now, we're dating and so forth, but I wasn't ready for her 2.5 years ago.
Right.
I would have been ready. But I took
Right.
the time to really look at my pros, but also be honest about my cons. Because you said it
Okay.
earlier, if you do not take time to unload that emotional baggage from your
Right.
last relationship, learn from that last relationship, wonder why it didn't work, or even heal. Say it was his fault, it's your fault. You have to have proper time. But in today's dating world, everything is instant, everything is fast. They want instant gratification, microwavable results.
Absolutely.
We have to slow it down. And I think for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't have enough time. Slow it down, and you actually do. I
Right.
promise you, when the ducks align in the right way, that individual is going to come into your life, and more importantly, you're going to be ready to handle them on all aspects of what I said earlier.
Okay. So let me ask you this: when it comes when we're talking about submission, right? What is it that you look for as like red flags in the whole? So you meet somebody, right, and you start dating, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you better than anybody else, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you know what doesn't work for you and what doesn't mesh for you, right? You know that. So, like, how do you handle those red flags that you start to see in dating and in submission? You know what I mean? In getting to that phase, like, how do you handle those? Because if I start seeing red flags right now, for me, it depends on the level of the red flags, right? Because some red
Yeah,
flags are like it's just like a caution. Okay, we can work around this, or
yeah,
I know where you came from, I know your background, I know your history, you shared that, so this makes sense
yeah.
based on where you came from, right? So how do you approach those things that you know are absolute red flags for you, and how do they alter your level of submission until that red flag is now alleviated,
The key to this whole thing is communication.
right?
Once you communicate, you can't adjust if you don't know. So say I'm
Right.
dating a young lady and she does something that's a red flag to me, and I let her know. Now she's acknowledged. Now I see how she adjusts to that. Prime
Right.
example, if it's reversed. If I do something, because I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, George. Nobody's perfect. So
Right.
we're trying to learn each other. It's almost trying to fit that mold just right.
Right.
So
Right.
if I do something, that's the true test that this person is willing to work with me or I'm working with them. When they are accountable for something that the other individual did not like, and they took time to correct it and adjust it so that partner can see, hey, they actually listened to me. So communication is key in that part. When something happens, because sometimes you just don't know. We'll use a prime example. Say, and it's a small red flag, but say a young lady sucks her teeth 24/7.
Right.
It's nails on chalkboard for me. I'm just like, I
For
really
sure.
don't like when you suck teeth. But she didn't know that. It's like, oh, my fault. And so she stopped sucking her teeth. That's just a small red flag for me. But if they're a little bit larger and there are things that can be adjusted to better the relationship, and
Right.
she's willing to do that, that's big for me because she's willing to put herself to the side and make it about us, and vice versa. If it's something that she doesn't like that I do, and she let me know, that I'm going to adjust accordingly to let her know, hey, I hear you, and now I'm adjusting accordingly. So it's about communication in that part.
Okay. So in that, and we keep throwing around this term partnership because we both are on the same page that relationships must be a partnership. It's not
Yes,
60-40, it's not 70-30, it's 50-50. We both
I think
are
it's 100-100, but
right.
I see what you're
I
saying.
got
Yeah,
you. And even to say that even better, it's 100-100. Like we both are all the way in, moving in the same direction together, right? Okay, so let me
absolutely.
ask you this, right? So let's say you notice your partner when it comes to submission, there are certain things that they're pulling back on in dating, right? We're not talking about marriage, we're talking about in
Yeah.
dating. Like there's certain things that they're pulling back on. How do you proceed? Do you now, is it a tit for tat thing? Is it like, oh, well, oh, that's how we're moving? Okay, I'm gonna pull back too. You know what I mean? Or is it back to, like you said, communication? So, hey, I'm gonna call you on it respectfully, right? Respectfully, I'm gonna point this
Yeah.
out. Hey, I noticed you've changed a little bit right here, right? And I'm gonna give you the opportunity to either bring this up here, stay where you are, or even go lower. I'm gonna give you the opportunity, and then we'll proceed from there, right? So when you look at that in totality, when you look at that, how do you proceed? Is your submission level like I'm still submitted to her and the things that I know that she's better at, or is it like, well, you know what, I'll just pull back too, and I'm gonna handle me and you handle you?
Listen, back in the day, I'm gonna be fully transparent. I would have tick for tat. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had to grow in that
Absolutely,
area.
Brian.
I'm
90% of
not.
people in America, I believe, are absolutely tit for tat. I just
Exactly.
believe that's how we're
Yeah,
wired.
100%. Now, if you really care about the person and a little bit of maturity has stepped into the play, you address it with them. And then if you address it and nothing changes and you address it again, then you change the question up. What's going on? What's we keep having this issue right here. And it's been multiple times. It's not the next time. You have to give them a chance to grow and to adjust. But after the second or third time, it's the same kind of results. Then I'm having a serious talk with you, like, hey, is this going to be an issue moving forward? And if she says yes, listen, I said this at the singles thing a long time ago. I'll say it again. You have to be willing to lose them to stand up for what you believe in. I'm going to say that
Say
again.
that one more time, Brian.
You have to be willing to lose them to stand up for what you believe in.
Hmm. No matter
As
the
a
cost
woman,
on that.
yes, well, that's cool. As a woman knows her worth as she should, a man should also know his worth. I have put the time, energy, and effort into making myself the best version of myself. So I know my worth. That's not me being cocky. That's not me be saying, oh, look at it. It's me knowing my truth. Just like a
Now,
woman
Brian,
knows her truth.
I'm
Go ahead.
so glad you said that. And this is Quad. This is my frat brother Kelvin Luster, who's making his way to his office, I'm sure. So he'll jump in on this when he's ready. But I'm so glad you said that because I feel like we're in a new era, right? I feel like we are absolutely in a new era where you have it. We've always been taught that women are the prize, and rightfully so. I'm not taking that away. Women are a blessing. They are a gift to the world, and that's boom. I got it right. So women are. We were brought up on that, but I feel like we have now transitioned into an era where guys understand their worth too and their qualities and what they bring to the table also. So now it's a true dynamic shift because I know my worth too. I know what I bring to the table also. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just getting a prize when I get you. You're also getting a prize when you get me. So we are both enhancing each other's lives. And I feel like when you come into a relationship or even the dating cycle with that mentality of you are the prize, I'm immediately putting you on a pedestal and putting myself beneath you. So when we start talking about being equally yoked, we're already starting unequal because I'm looking up at you like, baby, you're the prize, versus helping you understand we are both the prize. So as much as I fight for you, I need you to fight for me.
George, you are touching a sensitive subject. You are correct though, because when we say we know our worth, we're sassy, we're a little extra. But if a woman says it sometimes, I hear you, Queen, slay. What's the difference? We just know our worth also. I took the time to make myself the best version of myself. My dad told me, my dad, I love him. He was married to my mom for 43 years. He told me if you're going to be picky about anything, you be picky about who you spend the rest of your life with.
Absolutely.
But I had to get myself to a certain level where I can be a little bit more particular because I took the time financially, physically, mentally, spiritually to get to where I am. And I want someone, they don't have to be the same level. Shoot, they can be above me. I don't care. But as long as we both understand we are both the prize, we can both elevate each other, we can both shine. But you got to look at the breakdown, George. For some women, they've been taught that all their life. I'm not mad. You're the prize. You're the prize. You're the prize. You're the prize.
Right.
You're the prize. You're the prize. And they are. But there's nothing wrong with a man knowing that he's the prize also. I think they get upset when we vocalize it, even though they vocalize it all the time.
Exactly. Quad, go ahead and jump in on this and let us know what because we're talking about submission, but here we just opened up a whole new ball of wax. So where do you fall? I saw what you were saying, what you were mouthing when we talked about understanding the prize on both sides of the line. Where are you on in this equation?
I've always thought I was the prize. Just being honest, but like you said, it is. And I do know that good frat brother over there, my man. Good to see you again. But we have to know we're the prize. And just coming in on something that was said towards the end, like if we listen ourselves to a woman's standards, like to be honest, they're not gonna respect it. And then like that kind of sets us up for continual disrespect. But give me that question one more time.
Understanding, where are you in understanding that we are both the prize in this equation, not just the woman being the prize and I'm just the guy that she's with.
I mean, and so the thing about it, when you say the woman is the prize, and then you have the man here, but then we talk about what's equal. I think at some point, I think it's going to. I mean, I think it's going to fluctuate. But at the same
Right.
time, I think if we're connected with the Lord spiritually and we are where we're supposed to be, I mean, ultimately, when we talk about submission, if we're doing everything that we're supposed to do, again, that's going to allow a woman to be in her feminine self. All right. And then when that woman is in her feminine self naturally, I mean, she automatically is going to submit. And so we are able to like lead her and guide her. So while you may have equal input on things and there is equality there, there's going to be some inequalities on the actual output because as a man, he has to make those decisions. But we respect the input of the woman, but then it's like we're responsible for the total product. And then the thing is, you have to be equal. And so many times women have been taught, they're the prize. But what makes them the prize? What they were taught that makes them the prize no longer makes them the prize.
That's
I
that's that's good.
I was
That's
about
good,
to
my
say
boy.
that's heavy right there when you understand because it truly I can remember I was in a group setting and the question kind of was posed, and I'll water it down so that it works for this platform. But it was along the same lines of what does the woman bring to the table,
I
right?
don't
Like
need a
like it,
woman to listen. I don't need a woman to bring anything to the table. Because what happens if I'm functioning in my totally masculine self, I'm not going to have to ask her to bring anything because all of those things about being feminine, being a mother, being a nurturer, all of those things are going to be easy for her. And it's going to make her want to do that because, like all of the masculine stuff, you're not going to have to worry about getting your oil changed, cutting the grass. I'm putting you in your environment that you were created to be in, and that's your total feminine self. Like, I don't need her to bring anything because I'm going to provide everything that she needs so she can operate just as efficiently. So I don't need for that.
so see this why you and I have a lot of talks in our own time, right? Because we differ right here because I do
Yeah.
need you to bring some things to the table. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
Kendra,
I what'd you say, B?
look at Kendra's response. Okay, bring nothing. See that but George, I'm with you. Please continue. Please continue, George.
Right.
Man, I
So
want to
like
see these
because
responses though.
I need you to bring something to the table because I need you to be it's almost like this. Like you look at it like this. Let's talk about it. Let's say we're building a business because a relationship, we can look at it similar to a business in the makeup of it. So if you have two partners that are going to start a business together, well, okay, I'm gonna bring the money to the table, and we're still trying to build this business. Okay, I'm bringing the plans to the table. Okay, I'm bringing the contractors to the table. At a certain point, I'm going to look at you, and I'm trying to understand. Are you as invested in this project as I am? Because I can't see what you're bringing to the table. So that's why I'm saying we're going to differ a little bit when it comes to bringing things to the table, because I need her to bring some stuff to the table, because I need to look at you and say, you are just as deeply invested in the growth of this relationship as I am. And if I sit back and I can't start to see or put my finger on the things that you are putting on the table, now you can run off what I'm doing. You can easily, oh yeah, you do this. Oh yeah, you take care of this. Oh yeah, you make sure this happens. Oh yeah, like you
Hey,
can run those off. And when I sit back and I'm like, all right, I
hey,
can't easily identify what you bring. That's gonna cause a problem for me, because now I'm not gonna feel like we're equally yoked. I need to see balance. So if I'm bringing, for instance, in this most simplest form, like I love to cook, right? So if I'm cooking, right? If I cook, just simple, the expectation in my mind, I'm not saying that this is a woman's role, so please don't hear that. But if I cook, right, the natural expectation would be that you will be right behind me to wash the dishes. That's a partnership. We both did this thing together. We're equal in the kitchen. Not I cooked everything.
but this
Then
is
I
the
can't
thing.
even enjoy dinner because I gotta, in my mind, I'm sitting at the table like, I gotta go wash all those dishes.
This
Now
the
we can do
thing.
the dishes together. I'm cool with that too. But I need to see some level of investment from you on your end.
But bro, this is everything you said. I agree with. But like Tiff said, I didn't mean it like that, bro. Like when
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying like when you're saying like when you're in the dating process, right? When you're trying to get a woman, so the question is asked so many times, like, what do you bring to the table? Like, I don't need you to bring anything. But what you're saying about being invested in the relationship, I mean, that's absolutely correct. But as far as a woman bringing something to sustain me, I don't need her to bring anything to sustain me. Like the whole
And
thing
you,
of when people say, I need somebody to complete me. No one can complete
Yeah,
you.
I get that. We
You
throwing
have
that
to
out. We all
be
in agreement on that. We throw that out for sure.
you have to be a whole person. So
Right.
when a man asks, "What can a woman bring to the table?" It's almost like saying, "Like, what can you bring to the table to help me?" I don't need you to bring anything to the table to initially help me because I'm coming into this as a whole and complete person.
let
Can
me
you
let me let me
enhance my life? You absolutely can enhance my life, but it's nothing that I'm gonna need from you. That's like if you leave, like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. No, I'm not gonna die.
Go ahead,
both
B. Jump
great
in.
points. We're in a world where a lot of women, not all, let me make sure I say this right, not all, they want traditional values with a modern twist. We can agree to
That's true.
disagree. I
I
agree with
agree.
George on this one. I've had this asked me multiple times, Brian, what do you bring to the table? And I explain, I'm God fearing, debt free, own place, own car, good job. I break it down, but I reverse that question. I sure do. I asked that question. I said, what do you bring to the table where I should invest in you? Because it's an investment. What
Absolutely.
have you been doing as an individual person? And I'm 100% with you on George on one part, and we haven't even talked. I cook. I let her cook. She can cook. When she cooks, it's almost self-conscious. I'm cleaning those dishes.
For
If
sure.
I cook, she's cleaning dishes. It's a partnership. So when I ask, what are you bringing to the table? It's so funny because I just like to reverse it. Because when I ask a woman, well, what do you bring to the table? They're like, well, I bring a table. No, like my boy Kelvin said, I brought my own table.
Right.
I worked on myself. I am a complete individual outside of the table. Why should I invest in you? Because it's
And,
an investment.
and
So while I say they need to work in their feminine energy, my thing is you should always work in your feminine energy. That's like a man not being his masculinity because he's not, no, you better always work in that. Now you can have a woman feel more comfortable to
Absolutely.
bring out that feminine energy even more when she's comfortable, but she should never stop operating in that feminine energy. It should always be there. Sometimes it may be on the back burner because she's trying to see if she can fully bring it out. What I'm saying is lots of times as a male and as a woman, we ask for that. We're waiting for God to bring us that individual. And when God brings us that individual, we haven't taken care of the stuff as an individual person ourselves to make sure that relationship can thrive. So while you can, everything has a season. While you're in your singleness, ladies, men, work on yourself so that when that individual does come into your life, you are ready to shine and you guys can build a dynasty together. That's what I'm looking for. When I
Yeah,
talk to a
yeah.
woman, my girl right now, I want to build an empire. What are you doing? Let's bring this together. I want a woman that doesn't want me, that she didn't need me, but she wants me.
Right.
And the same vice versa, like you said. I don't need a woman, but I want a woman, or vice versa, one and two. You got it. But the point of the matter is, work on yourself as an individual person. So when that person does come into your life, you're ready to take on any role that needs to be taken on, and vice versa.
And
And I
Brian,
think that
what you said, Brian, like that's a perfect example of what I'm saying. If you're God fearing, like, and all of those other qualities that you presented, like if a woman is working in her feminine energy, what you do as a man is going to provide a safe space for her. And that's going to make her comfortable where she can always operate in that feminine energy. And I just believe if you're providing that safe space for her, so many things, I mean, it just comes natural. You know, when we
Well,
talk about the
hold on, Kevin.
commitment,
We got to read these comments because
I'm
I'm
coming
reading
to
now.
it.
It's
Okay,
a
so
problem
listen,
because I don't
there's a
owe you
question that
submission
was just
without
posed.
commitment.
I'm
Whoa,
gonna
whoa,
read the
whoa, whoa. Let's
question
go,
just how
bro.
it is. So the question
Yeah.
says, it's a problem because I don't owe you submission without commitment. And that was also seconded by another person that said men want commitment and submission one-sided.
We're
So
doing it.
what level of commitment are we talking about when
Yes.
like, because is the commitment that you are referring to us being in a relationship, a committed exclusive relationship, or is the commitment level that we're talking about marriage? Like
Yeah.
where are we on the commitment platform?
Yeah. Because you're getting your cake and ice cream. From what one reading is, we have to show you we can provide, we can protect you, we're financially good. But what are you bringing to the table as I'm showing you that I'm a good man for you to potentially partner up with? What do you do in this entire process? Do you sit there and look pretty? Because I'm going to tell you now, in today's economical world, you better have at least two revenue streams in that household.
For
Don't make me
sure.
start pulling out some numbers. I will start long gone in the 1960s where the husband goes and he can sustain a
Oh
relationship.
yeah, that's over. Yeah,
Yeah, we
that's a
haven't even
wrap.
talked about kids. We
Yeah.
haven't even talked about kids. Each kid you have to put at least 40,000 on. Documentation beats any conversation. So what I'm saying is you want commitment from one side. No, I'm gonna submit just like I'm asking you to submit. This is a partnership. Make sure y'all get it out of your head that this isn't one-sided. Whatever I'm asking from you, I'm going to give in return.
Okay, so they said exclusive relationship. So we talked about it. So we covered that in the beginning when we talked about a partnership. Like that it wasn't a one-sided thing. We are talking about partnerships here. So we're talking about both sides being
Yes,
submitted. I'm submitted to you, you're submitted to me. We are both moving in the same direction, right?
together.
Together. But in that, I'm with you because I feel like, and Brian, what you said is so accurate because we are in an era now also where you do have a lot of the opposing sex that wants to sit back and like, well, let me watch everything. It's almost like a peacock. You know how like a male peacock in mating season, like he flares up and he shows all his feathers and all his glory and he struts around to prove that he's the prettiest peacock and da da da. And that's how the women choose. Oh, I want to mate
Yeah,
with him, right? So it's almost like where we are now. Like women want to sit back and they want you to like lay out how much you make. What's your job? You got kids, you got bills, you got debt. Like they want to see everything, all while holding cards, closed vests. And it's like, no, baby, that's not a partnership because a partnership is a trading of information. You can't hold back. When I ask you, you need to be ready to answer the same question. This lady
I,
said, whoever finds a
I see it,
wife
George.
finds a good thing. The woman is the prize. So
Yeah,
listen,
George, listen, let me tell you something. In today's world, a woman be like, you got to make at least 200K. You got to be this. Do you understand to clear 200,000 how hard that is? And no disrespect to people who are, I respect them all. Yes, she is the prize, but you better believe my mom and dad taught me I'm the prize too. And I'm not going to, I'm going to be honest with you. We can both be the prize. I don't understand the
because she
problem with
can't be
both
the
of us.
prize by yourself.
I don't understand how we both cannot be the prize. I'm not saying I'm the only, to better myself. Am I not a prize? I was single, no kids, educated, 42, got my own. Yes, I'm a prize. What are we doing here? So only the women can be the prizes? I want to hear this. Ladies, write in. So only the women can be the prizes and the men cannot? I need to see this answer.
That's
George, that's
that
my question here.
that's gonna be backwards. I would hope that women, but we know
Oh,
that Brian, we know that's a real belief though.
oh,
And Quad, you know this too. Like we know that's a real belief that women believe that they can only be the prize.
My goodness. I'm saying both. They always talking about equality. They always talking about we can't both be the prize. So you telling me all the work I did to make myself the best version of myself in all those categories that I spoke of earlier means nothing because she's the prize and that's all that matters. No, we can both be the prize. I'm sorry. My mom and dad taught me that. I'm rocking with that.
And
And
then the
Paul,
thing
you jump
about
in
it,
on this
bro,
too
if
because
you
I
don't
think that.
think it's
Go ahead.
as a man, if you don't think you're the prize, that goes back to where you need to go back and work on yourself.
Right.
If you don't think you're the prize, like that's a problem. And I
I've
don't
had
think
women.
you may
No,
not be
you
ready
good.
for a relationship.
I've had women say I'm intimidating because I have my stuff in order. You got to understand something. Some women are natural. Well, all women are natural nurturers, and sometimes they will date below themselves so they can take care of that man
But
because
Brian,
he's always going to go
pause
ahead.
what you're saying. How backwards would they look at you if you were trying to date them and you did not have your stuff in order?
They wouldn't date him.
You see what I'm saying?
They won't date you. Like for real, like the qualifications for men is like the bar is so high. You know,
Absolutely.
it is so high for us. Right.
And it keeps going back. It
And,
keeps going back.
and I honestly believe if we begin to look at it, that's why you have such drastic differences when you start to look at the single pool. Go look at Brian, you want to talk about data? Go study the data on the single pool and start looking at what that women are that highest quality of, and you got to understand why, because it's true. Like we've got to start to, and I don't want to tell anybody to lower their standards, but you've got to have standards that
Are
align with number
realistic.
one, where you are.
Yes.
True.
Right? They
Some of
got
them
to
are busy
align
doing
with
this
where
stuff and you
you
don't
are.
even
I
know.
can't like you. We can all have dreams, right? We can all have dreams, but we got to be realistic when you talk about your standards, and you have to look at where you are in this platform and start to think about, well, I need somebody that's going to align or help, in the pulling factor. But you can't reach 10 levels up from where you are and think that that's your pond efficient. It's not your pond efficient. You gotta kind of. My best friend has a saying. She always says, "Hey, you got to know your tribe." Right? You got to know your tribe. Like you got to know who you rocking with. You got to know like what's the pool. And I think that when you start talking about standards and understanding the balance of standards, like your standards have to be relevant to where you are, or either the direction that you close to get. Maybe you're in the transitional phase. Okay, cool. But like, listen, let's get realistic with what we're asking for.
Well, it's always funny because you're correct. George, you, myself, Kelvin, we all had to elevate ourselves to get to a certain standard for the women we wanted, right? We took the
Exactly.
time to do. I mean, it's just some, and again, I make sure it's not all. I always say some. Some's expectations are so high, and I'm like, but you're not even near that. And I hear so many times, I hear a lot of women say, "Where are the good guys?" Well, the good guys are exactly where you left them in the friend zone. You can't tell me, ladies, that you don't have one or two men in your friend zone that would treat you right, but he's not fun, he's boring, or he's just not 6'3" or 6'4", or he's just not fully tatted. Nothing against you, George, because I'm tatted up too. But what I'm
It's cool.
saying
Hey,
is,
but
yeah,
I'm 5'8", so they missed me on the height requirement.
there you go, the height. But they have all these criteria. And then what is like, wait a minute, do you want a good man or do you want Adonis? Or you
Right.
want both of them, but you're willing to go after Adonis and try to turn him into a good guy rather than have the good guy and that gonna put a little bit of swag or drip on him. So when the women ask that, I say, look at your friend zone. So I mean, it's an interesting conversation. I'm seeing on these posts that we can both be. Thank you, ladies, because I'm telling you now, I'm not changing my mentality on this. I know I'm a good man. I was
Absolutely.
like, and I know there's some good women out there, and I appreciate you, and you keep pushing forward. Just know we as men have standards also, and there's nothing wrong for us asking about them. But please believe before we ask for those standards, we're going to make sure we at least meet them ourselves.
That part. And I think that goes back to, and we can wrap it up with this if you guys have any closing pieces. But I think that goes back to this, right? You always have women talk about like, oh man, we always have to date the project man, or we have to date the man that's got a lot of issues, and we build him up and help him get himself together. And then when he gets together, he
Me.
goes and does whatever. See, you shouldn't be dating him in the first place, and that's got to be a flaw on your end and not his end. Because you got to evaluate and care about yourself enough to know, hey, baby, you're not ready to date. It's time for you to step back and get yourself together. And hey, listen, if I miss out on it because I'm okay then. It wasn't
Yep.
for me. It wasn't for me. We all got to stand on what God has for me is for me. You cannot come take what God has intended for me. You cannot, right? It's for me. So I have to understand that. So if somebody walks away, I'm okay with them walking away with the thought that that wasn't really the person. That was somebody that was going to occupy my time for some years. They may have wasted my time for some years, but it wasn't the person.
I think what we all have to do, men and women, we have to look in the mirror and be accountable for our own actions and the choices we take. Are we accountable? And accountability is a strong thing because you have to strip everything away and you have to ask yourself the important questions. Am I where I need to be right now to even be dating? That's a simple word, and that's in all aspects. Why are you looking when you're not ready? You still have emotional baggage from your last relationship, or you're financially not where you need to be, or you're just going through a lot. Everything has a season, and sometimes you have to slow down, look at yourself in the mirror, be honest with yourself, get to where you need to get. And I promise you, dating pool is going to always be there. But so many times we rush it because we want to be in a relationship, we want to be all warm and feel all good like a gummy bear in a pocket. We want to just be there, but we have to slow it down. This is coming from someone who did it. Trust me, I did this exact, and it's not always easy. I mean, I have successful men all around me, from George to Oscar to Clint, Nehemiah to Michael. I have really great examples of fathers, men, and it made me want to step my game up and be a better person. So what I had to do was be honest with myself. I stepped away from everything and I said, I'm going to be the best version of Brian Robinson that I can be,
Yeah.
and I'm happy.
Luster, what you got?
Man, I agree with my guy, man. Like totally. It's just it it's just tough, man, because I think the biggest thing is, we have, like it was said earlier, a lot of women want, they have, traditional expectations, with
Modern twist.
with modern twist, and we're held to, standards that, they don't hold themselves to. But it's it's tough out here, man. And I'm gonna be
And
honest,
George, make sure you say this to
I
them. We're
don't
not
even think.
bashing you, ladies. We're not bashing you, but you wanted our side of the coin, and this is what we're thinking. We love you. If you weren't on this planet, we wouldn't want to be here. But I think sometimes those expectations, it's like the goalpost gets pushed back each and every time, and we're just like, what can we do? Do you want us to train a dragon? What else do you want us to do? So, I mean, just work with us.
And
Yeah.
then I want to say this, something else too, like for real. Just like some women may say, like, the dating pool is not good. I mean, as men, like once we have established ourselves, like it doesn't look too favorable for us either. Like,
Ooh,
just like women say, "Where the good men are? Where are the good men?" It's like we're like, "Where are the good women?"
And that's but I do believe that's valid. I believe that's valid, and I think that you have to give earnest on both sides. If women have the capability of saying where the good men, men also have the capability of saying where are the good women. Like, there's balance on both sides, right? Fellas, listen, because we way over time. We have 48 minutes, bro. We're gonna have to run this back with the three of us. I promise you, because I love this talk right here.
I
And to be
appreciate it,
able to,
George.
huh?
Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate y'all jumping on, man, and being able to just be transparent and be open, as much as possible. Hold on, let me. Sometimes
I'm reading
men
it. Go ahead and read it,
you
George.
gotta look down on even if you.
No, we don't.
Okay,
If
listen.
y'all
Let me address that real quick. As far as men looking down on women who have it together, I think honestly, credible men will never look down on a woman who has it together. And to be honest, credible men will not look down on a woman who doesn't have it together. You just have to understand that man understanding that where you are might not that we're not gonna mesh. So him making a decision to say maybe you're not the one for me isn't him looking down on you. It's just him being clear rather than getting involved and wasting your time, because a lot of guys out here are time wasters. Like, they will occupy your time as long as you allow them to occupy your time. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to understand that it may not necessarily be looking down. It's never a put down. It's never a look down, because honestly, we all got something we're working on. I'm not I'm not all the way perfect. Brian is not. Luster's not. Like, there's never gonna be a day we will get on a podcast and be like, yo, we good. We got everything straight and we just waiting on the right women. Like, no, we're all working on something. So there's never a reason to look down on somebody that's in. It's almost like you're looking at it like a factory with a conveyor belt. Everybody's on a different stage of the conveyor belt getting worked on. So it's okay. We understand that, but maturity says I've got to understand, hey, where you are, it's not where I'm trying to be. And it's nothing against you. It's just not where I'm trying to be. All restaurants aren't for me. I don't eat at all restaurants. They're not for me. Nothing against them. Not saying they're a bad business. Not saying their food is bad. It's just not for me. And you just have to have that understanding when you know who you are. You understand what's for you and what's not for you.
And Jeff,
Sometimes
I
we
think
help those
that's fair though.
individuals.
If
Go ahead.
you like, and it's not looking down on people, but that's fair. Like if you a person um that likes church's chicken, why would you date someone that doesn't like church's chicken? You see, and then I think it's fair because, like you said, some men are time wasters, some women are time wasters, and like I said last time, like when you're dealing with women, and the way dating is really set up for women to win, and so it's to me, it's like women are almost no disrespect, but women are almost like a slot machine. You can
Mm-mm.
invest, 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 and then you may walk away with nothing. So if a man can be honest with you and upfront with you, it's not that he's looking down, it's the fact that he respects himself enough to know that you're not you're not the person that he's looking for, because the thing about it, you can't take everyone everywhere with you. Everyone is not set up or suitable to make those journeys.
For sure.
So it's not looking down on them, but it's just one of those things. And like I said, at the point I am, I'm just not real interested in wasting time or
Right.
continuing to make investments to walk away with a ticket that says $0 on.
I mean, if we were up front, both sides, it'd be a lot less drama. I mean, if a guy says, "Hey, I'm not really trying to talk to you like that," or, and I'm not trying to pick, but ladies, how many of y'all have gone on a date and you're not interested, but you're getting a free meal?
We
I
know,
mean,
listen, Brian, I have heard females say this directly. Man, I'm hungry. I'm gonna see who I can call to get a meal, and then I'm not gonna call them again after we go eat. So, bro, listen, that's a whole nother topic for another day. We got so much that we're gonna dive into. We are going to run this back for sure. Listen, to everybody who tuned in today, thank y'all so much for checking out the single life today. Please be aware you will see these two faces back with me because we got a lot to just unpack. So man, thank y'all so much and y'all be blessed. We'll catch y'all again. Thank y'all.
y'all be safe.